Good morning, everyone. Today's going to be a little bit of a nice slow class working on integrating breath, getting back into kind of our slow mobility. I just got back from a nice intense trip to Maine and New York City that included 12 hours on a bus, a Greyhound style bus, and then started basketball practice last night. So official season is beginning, which means rough hours and tight schedule. So getting into the slow movement for recovery is that much more important, especially for my body. So let's get into it. We're going to begin on our back, getting into our crocodile breath. I really want to work on integrating our breath from a neurological standpoint prior to getting into our movement in order to kind of reinforce opening up that those lower abdominal walls, getting them to be able to expand and contract fully with each inhale and exhale. So we're going to make some nice big C shapes with our hands. Thumbs are going in the rear. I want index fingers pressing into the abdominal wall on the front. Side body of the hand is pressing in to the side, and the thumbs are pressing into that low back. Taking a nice inhale in through the nose, full exhale out through the mouth. As you exhale, we're drawing our navel into our spine. And as you exhale, squeeze your hands a little bit in order to create resistance for your next inhale. And let that next inhale expand out into the thumbs, into the side palm, and into the index fingers. You're trying to get that nice balloon breath, like crocodile breath. I want to breathe out in all directions, 360 degrees. And let's get a good 5 to 6 breaths. Each breath, see if you can expand out a little bit more. On the exhale, each exhale, see if you can exhale a little bit more, drawing that navel into the spine to really push and express that breath out. And then as soon as you get to the end of that exhale, filling up that balloon, pressing out on the walls. And as you're doing this, notice if it's different breathing into one side of the body compared to the other side. Does that breath want to inflate more on the right side or more on the left side? Does it want to inflate more forward into the abdominals, or are you able to get it to move out to the sides or into that low back area? And wherever you feel it difficult to get that breath to move into, you can stimulate a little bit. You can use your thumb or press the side of your palm into that musculature and breathe intentionally to try to press that space out. After our 5th or 6th breath, we're going to slowly shift into our quadruped position, coming up to hands and knees. Spreading fingers out nice and wide, grounding palms and extending elbows fully without locking. And we'll go ahead and have your toes lightly tucked underneath. And we're going to continue to stick with that same crocodile breath. Breathing into the belly, full expansion. On that exhale, drawing navel into spine. Now, we don't have our hands to kind of give us a kinesthetic cue on this, so part of the reason I want to start with our crocodile breathing in the supine is so that you can feel that stretch that you get on each inhale. See if you can continue to work that 360 degrees of expansion through the abdominal walls on each inhale, drawing navel to spine on each exhale. And as you're doing this, start to notice that there's a natural tilt to the pelvis related to the inhale and exhale. As we breathe into the belly, the pelvis starts to tilt down towards the floor. And as we exhale, we start to get this natural little scoop where the pelvis kind of tailbone scoops underneath. Go ahead and work into that. Accentuate that movement. On each inhale, allow that belly to start opening up more to the floor, seeing how far we can go without getting any pinch or pain in the low back. And on the exhale, scoop that pelvis underneath. I don't want to press out and get rounded in our upper back. I just want to feel that scoop at the pelvis so that you get a little bit of stretch into the low back. And then inhale, filling up that belly as the pelvis tilts forward. After about 5 or 6 breaths, with that nice rocking of the pelvis, we're going to start to allow that movement to move up the spine on your exhale. As you exhale, see if you can start to feel that movement go up into the shoulders, pressing through the palms. We'll get our nice rounded back. See if you can feel those shoulder blades spread, and let it come over the top of the head so that you're trying to touch tailbone to forehead at this imaginary point in the middle on your exhale. As you inhale, pelvis tilts down towards the floor and pulls the spine slowly towards the floor. As it moves up to the chest, reach the sternum down as the head comes up last. See if you can feel a nice wave-like action of the spine generated from that inhale and exhale, and how it moves the pelvis, the sacrum specifically, and then that creates that nice wave through the rest of the spine. Each one, see if you can press a little further, getting as much rounding through the upper back, scoop through the pelvis. Can you feel a stretch from the tailbone all the way up to the base of the skull on your exhale? On your inhale, can you feel your belly open up towards the floor? And can you breathe in and feel that expansion stretch through the front of the abdominals on your inhale? And reaching the chest to the floor, can you get a little bit of stretch through the chest? After about 5 to 10 of those, we're going to come back to a nice neutral position, and we're going to get into our wrist mobility. Inhale as we're back, exhale as we lightly rock body forward, loading into our wrist space. As we exhale, I want to sink hips back and load into the balls of the feet. Inhale, we're moving forward, loading into the wrist space. Exhale, drawing navel into spine as we sink into the ball of the big toe joint. So we're kind of getting a little bit of load forward into the wrist. As we rock back, we're loading into the ball of the foot. So we're getting mobility work in both directions. But we're going slow and moving with the speed of our breath. And continue to feel that nice movement of the pelvis. As you're rocking forward, inhaling, pelvis tilts down towards the floor. Exhale as you sink back, feel that belly draw into the spine, get a light scoop of the pelvis at the same time that you're loading into the foot. See if you can get a little deeper into the stretch of that big toe joint and into the arch of the foot. Then we're going to spiral our hands so that our fingers are facing backwards towards the knees. Closer the hands are to the knees, the less intense this is. The further out we come, the more intense. I don't want this to be massively intense. We're going to continue to sync our breath with this. Turning the heels out so that you've got pinky toes as much tucked underneath as possible. Inhale, we're going forward. Exhale, we're sinking hips back to heels. And now we're kind of loading both into the forearm space as well as the lateral arch as we exhale, rocking backwards, inhale, rocking forwards. Kind of readjust your feet with each one to see if you can get your feet, your toes tucked under a little bit more. I don't want this to be a massive stretch on either the forearm or the foot. So if you need to bring your hands closer into your knees in order to get decent load into the foot without it being too much on the forearms, then we can make that adjustment. And again, going nice and slow. Inhale forward, filling up that crocodile breath. Exhale, drawing navel to spine as you sink hips to heels. If you need to, we'll come off the wrists a little bit, roll them out, make sure that we are not overly stressing. Next, we're going to turn fingers out to the side, and we're just going to get a nice little side-to-side glide. Exhale as you move shoulders over your palm. Inhale as you come to center. Exhale as you go to the other side. Nice full inhale. Fill up that crocodile breath as you come to center. Exhale, drawing navel to spine. I want to really feel this pull action. I'm loading into the wrist, but I also want to feel the shoulder blade pulling my body over my wrist. Can you feel the shoulder active along the rib cage? I want active shoulder blades because I want to get my shoulders to be active through my movement. I don't want to be passive. Can you feel the neurology of the muscles around the shoulder blade kind of actively holding that shoulder blade to the ribs as you move back and forth? Exhale as you go to the side, inhale as we come to center. Again, we'll take a little stress off the wrists, rolling them out, get a little flow back into them. We'll bring our hands forward considerably. I want to try to keep the hips over the knees. I don't want my hips sinking back too much to heels if possible. We're going to get into our modified child's pose. Spread the hands out as wide as you can. Nice downward facing pressure and the elbows are active. We're going to inhale, filling up that crocodile breath. Exhale, feel that scoop of the pelvis. And we're going to get a few breaths in before we actually start dropping and reaching to the floor. I want to feel that pelvic action first. So again, inhale, feel the pelvis open up, belly opens up towards the floor. Feel that stretch on the inhale. Exhale, draw the navel in, feel that scoop. See if you can get a little bit of stretch into that low back area with our hands extended out in front. After 3 to 5 breaths, on your next exhale, we're going to reach the sternum down at the same time that you're getting that scoop with the exhale. So I want to have a nice scoop as we reach. See if you can feel that stretch and load at the shoulder, around the armpit area. Inhale, we're coming all the way back up. Exhale, drawing navel to spine as we scoop, reaching the sternum a little bit deeper with each one. Inhale into our crocodile breath as you rock up and forward. Again, I want to move with the speed of breath, and I want the breath to be slow. Exhale slowly and fully, drawing that navel in. Full exhale. Inhale slow and smooth in through the nose as you come back up. The slower you can go with the breath, the better. Be nice and tuned in to make sure that we are not moving into pain. See if you can notice if there's a difference in how this feels on the right shoulder compared to the left shoulder. Does one side feel tighter, more restricted, or does it feel more weak and unstable? On the next one, as we sink down, I want to get into some light tension, but not massive tension, but we're going to stay in our child's pose. And we're going to take a few breaths from this position. Inhale, feel that belly open up. Allow the pelvis to tilt forward. Exhale, draw the navel into the spine as you scoop. Again, I want this to be light tension, and if you're feeling that this is too much on the shoulders, it's okay to come up, get a little rest, or to come all the way up into a seated position and take some stress off the shoulders. And then we can come back and get into our position. Now I want to add in another layer to this. Still in our light tension. As you inhale, filling the belly up, we're going to let our shoulders slide down the back. Kind of our body or our spine is shifting forward. As we exhale and scoop, push into the hands to slide the spine back. Feel the shoulder blades reach up towards your ears. Inhale, feel the shoulder blades slide down the upper back. We're continuing to work that crocodile breath. Inhale, fill up that abdominal cavity or the abdominal walls. Pelvis is rotating forward, belly's opening up to the floor. As you exhale, pushing the body back as your pelvis scoops. We'll slowly come up out of that, getting a little bit of shoulder rolls. Reaching shoulders up, sliding them back, dropping them down, bringing them forward. Getting a few of these in both directions, shaking the arms out. We're going to get into our reverse sit position. Knees are bent, arms are coming down next to the hips. Fingers can be forward, out to the side, or back, whatever is comfortable. And I want to press and ground into the floor through the palms of the hands. And we're going to start with a little bit of our spirals through the elbow pits. We're spiraling elbows out and then spiraling elbows in. And we're going to sync this in with our breath. As you spiral the elbows out, we're inhaling, inflating our crocodile breath, and getting nice and tall through the spine. Notice how the shoulder blades want to pack down and back the ribs as the chest opens up and the sternum lifts up to the ceiling. On the exhale, drawing navel into spine, shoulder blades round up over the ribs towards the ears. As we exhale, nice rounded upper back. Allow that pelvis to scoop to see if you can get feel a nice rounding through the lower back all the way up to the upper back. Inhale, inflates the spine, lifts the sternum up, spiral those elbows out, feel a nice stretch across the chest as your shoulder blades pack and reach down towards the floor. Exhale, belly comes to spine as those shoulders softly round up to the ears. Just like in our quadruped when we were doing our cat-cows, I want to feel this as a wave moving up the spine generated from the pelvis. As we exhale, that navel draws into spine and it scoops the pelvis, and that creates a wave that moves up the rest of the back, shoulders coming up to the ears. As we inhale, that fills up the belly and it fills up the spine a little bit one at a time as we spiral those elbows out, getting taller and taller through the chest on each one. Can you really feel that downward press with the elbows turning out as much as possible, feeling that opening up of the chest towards the ceiling. On the next inhale, when we get up to the top, I want to stay at the top. We can go ahead and cross our legs if that's more comfortable, but I want to stay actively pressing down, actively spiraled out, nice big open chest. And from here, we're going to get into our neck work. Continuing to breathe into our crocodile breath on each inhale. Exhale, we're going to turn into looking over at our blind spots. Going into just simple rotation. Exhale, let that head look over your right shoulder. See how far can you get your chin to turn over over the edge of the shoulder. I don't want to reach from the forehead or the cheek. I want to reach more intentionally from that chin. And with each one, I want to very slowly squeeze that as much out of that range of motion as possible without going into discomfort or pain. Inhale, crocodile breath at the center. Exhale as you look over the shoulder. Inhale at center. Exhale, rotate the other side. With each one, we're seeing if we can squeeze a little bit further into it without discomfort or pain. Again, come back and check in on the grounding of your palms. I don't want to get soft in the shoulders where the shoulders start to shrug up. I want to be actively pressing down, spiraling elbows out. Shoulders are actively reaching down the back of the rib cage towards the floor. So trying to see if we can be as tall in the spine as possible. Notice if there's a difference in how this feels on the right side compared to the left side. Do you get more range on one direction compared to the other direction? How far can you get that chin to line up with the edge of your shoulder? We'll come back to center, and now we're going to get into our light windshield wipers. Letting one ear drop to the shoulder and then actively lifting that opposite ear like you're trying to reach it up towards the ceiling. Inhale at center, exhale as you tilt and lift. Again, continuing to ground through the palms, spiraling out the elbows, nice open chest. As you're doing this, notice as you lift your left ear, can you press and ground more with your left palm, creating a little bit more traction. And then the same thing on the right side. As you lift that right ear up towards the ceiling, can you press through the palm in order to help get as much elevation and stretch as you can. As you soften, inhale, again, we're filling up that crocodile breath. Exhale, drawing navel in. As you fully exhale, pressing down through the palm, lifting up through the ear. There's a lot of different cueing going on between breath and movement. It's not uncommon to get a little confused, to get the breathing, feel like you're getting the breathing backwards. Do not worry about doing it perfectly. I'm not teaching you the perfect breath. I'm not teaching you how to breathe correctly. I am teaching you a way of breathing. And if you're finding it challenging, then that means there's probably some benefit in learning how to do this and working on it. But it doesn't mean that it's the right way, and if you're doing it wrong, it doesn't mean you're doing it the wrong way. Again, notice the difference of how this feels on the right side compared to the left. So one side a little bit tighter, a little bit more restricted. Are you able to go as far? Now we're going to come back to center, and we're going to work on our side-to-side glide. So in this one, I want to keep the cheekbones on the same plane. As we exhale, glide across, reaching that cheek out to the side towards the shoulder. I want to avoid rotating and tilting. So I don't want the head to tilt in that direction, and I don't want to turn towards the direction. I want to keep eyes forward on the horizon and see if you can feel that side to side glide. This is a lot easier to do if you're standing in front of a mirror so that you can visually see it. So if you don't have that access to it, don't worry about it for right now. Simply see how far can you move that cheekbone to the side in each direction, and does it feel different when you're reaching to the left compared to the right? And I want to kind of notice the palms again, similar to what we did with the tilts. As you're reaching your cheek towards the left, engage the right palm down a little bit more. Press through that palm to see if you can reach through that cheekbone a little bit further. When you go to the right, engaging down through the left. Now, as I'm doing this, I don't want to move at the shoulders. I don't want shoulders going side to side. I want shoulders being relatively still. It's mainly the head that is moving, but you're feeling a little bit more downward ground through the palm as you reach across to the opposite side with your cheek. Can you feel that action through the palm, through the back of the shoulder, to be grounded and stable, to kind of stabilize that shoulder without shifting the shoulders back and forth? So next, we're going to work on a little bit of figure eights through the head. Coming back to our rotation, I'm turning the head fully towards the left, and from here we're going to look straight up towards the ceiling, and then let our gaze go straight down towards the floor. Going back and forth on this. As we're looking up and looking down, continue to reach into that rotation. Squeeze into it like you're trying to continue to turn that chin over your shoulder. Can you feel that rotational tension as your gaze goes up as far as you can comfortably and as far as you can down comfortably? After 5, we're going to switch to the other side. Reaching fully into that rotation, turning from the chin, and then allow that gaze to move down towards the floor, and then up towards the ceiling. Again, continuing to reach through the chin, trying to turn that chin over the shoulder as far as you can without going to discomfort or pain. Can you maintain that rotational tension as your gaze goes up to the ceiling and back down to the floor? And next, we're going to start working from diagonal across, going from one side to the other. So I'm going to start with, I'm looking to the right, down and away to the right. And from down and away right, we're going to go diagonal across to up and away on the left. And then bringing our gaze down and away on the left, diagonal across, up and away on the right. Down and away on the right, and then diagonal across to left away and across. We're basically making a nice big figure 8 with our face crossing through the midline of the body. Again, as we're going through from down and away, or up and away to down and away, continue to try to maintain that rotation through the chin. Try to see if you can feel that squeeze. And then when we go diagonal across, can you come all the way in and find that same rotational squeeze at the chin? We're trying to make our figure 8 as big as we can without pain or discomfort. After about 5 to 10 of these, we're going to change directions. So from left up and away, we're going to go diagonal across to down, right and away, and then look up, right and away, and then down, diagonal across, left, down and away. Left up and away, diagonal across to right, down and away. Again, nice figure eight. Trying to make that figure eight as big as possible by continuing to move from the chin to turn that chin over the shoulder, even as you're going from down and away to up and away. We'll come off our shoulders and get a little flow back into them again, checking in with the shoulders and the wrists. We're going to change our position and get into a nice wide V-sit. Spreading the knees out nice and wide as you possibly can. Actively pulling the dorsum of the foot back like you're trying to touch your shins, and actively reaching the knees down towards the floor. The more you actively reach your knees to the floor, you should notice that your quads are kind of tight. I want to maintain that tension in the quads. I'm not squeezing the quads. I'm actively reaching the knees down and actively pulling the tops of the foot back. Hands can go back behind on the floor in order to support the spine. Trying to just maintain a nice tall spine with an open chest. So we can even outwardly rotate those elbows a little bit in order to open the chest a little bit more. And we're going to do our knee spirals. Rotating the knees out and in. I want to inhale as we go from one to the other and exhale into each squeeze. As we rotate out, we're exhaling, and see how far can you get the kneecap to rotate down towards the floor. Inhale as you bring the knee to center. Exhale as you rotate the knee inwardly, seeing how far can you rotate it in towards the floor. I want to see if we can feel this all the way up deep into the hip socket, imagining that we are getting this nice mobilizing stretch on the deep rotators around the ball of the femur, or the ball of the femur in that hip socket. Exhale as you squeeze into it. Inhale as knees come to center. Exhale as you squeeze into the other direction. Again, actively reaching the knees to the floor, actively pulling the dorsum of the foot back. The more you can keep those active, the deeper you're going to feel that movement up into the hip. I want to make sure that this is not painful. We're moving at the speed of our breath. Notice how far your kneecaps rotate outwardly. How far does the left go compared to the right? My left one goes a little further externally than my right. Then notice how far inward do they come. They're pretty much the same coming internal, but my external, I have more range of motion on my left than I do on my right. Now we're going to start to add in our ankles. As you spiral the knees out, point the toes, kind of reach through the toes, imagining that you're trying to grow your toenails. You're reaching through the toenails as far as you can. Spiral the knees in, and then pull the feet back as far as you can, actively pulling the dorsum of the foot. Then we're going to spiral the knees out as far as you can, and then point and reach through the toes. I want to avoid any kind of like Charlie horse cramping of the foot. So be light on the foot if it feels like you can get a cramp. If you feel pretty good with this, that you're not getting any cramping, as you're pointing, you can start to grip and clench the toes. See how far can you reach, grip as you spiral all the way in, and as you pull back, can you spread your toes wide while you're pulling the dorsum of the foot back towards the shin, spiraling out, point and grip. As you spiral in, spread and pull. Again, I want to try to have the knees actively straightening towards the floor, trying to keep that tension in the quads. Continuing to breathe into our crocodile breath. Exhale, drawing navel into spine. And then I want to reverse direction of our circles, but doing the same thing. As we point, gripping the toes or just reaching and extending through the toes, spiraling out as far as we can with the knees, feeling that squeeze of the rotation, and then spread and pull the toes as you pull the dorsum of the foot back, spiraling back in. Notice if this feels a little different on the right side compared to the left side. Again, I want to kind of notice that how far does the rotation of the knee go? Do I have similar range of motion, or is it a little bit different? And then we're going to shift into our back to our reverse sit so that we can get into our shin box work. Hands are back to support, again, kind of maintaining a nice tall spine. And I want the feet to be fairly spread wide. I want wide enough so that when we bring our knees in, that knee's not going to land on top of your foot. You got space for it to go to the floor. Before we get into the windshield wipers, though, I want to come back to our crocodile breath. Breathing in, filling up that belly, that expansion of the abdominal walls on the inhale. Exhale, drawing navel into spine, full exhale. On the next inhale, as you inflate, feel that stretch of the breath in. The exhale, we're going to let the knees drop towards the floor. I want to only go as far as we can without pain or discomfort. If you are able to get knees to the floor, come off that back hand, but keep your weight on the same side hand as the knee that's going down. As we inhale, we're going to come back to center, placing the hand back to the floor, and exhale, going to the other side, allowing that hand to come off the floor. If you are having pain in the knee, I do not want you pushing into that pain. If you are only able to go so far without pain, then this is your range of motion on this movement. Exhale into it, going slow, only going to like the level 1 or 2 on a scale of 0 to 10. Slight discomfort. I do not want to go into pain. And if you cannot get your knees to the floor, then this is where you need to remain in this series. I don't want you to go into any of the other movements. Just continue to work through this part. If you're able to get knees to the floor, we're going to slowly work to get tall through the spine on each one. As we transition across, exhale. Once your knees come to the ground and one hand's coming off the floor, we can spiral through that elbow, opening up the chest, lifting tall through the spine. As we inhale, going back to center, hand comes back down to the floor. As we go to the other side, spiral that elbow out as you lift that spine nice and tall. Notice how this feels through the hips. Notice how it feels through the back. When I come to my right side, my left hip is a lot tighter in this position. I do not feel it the same way when I come to the other side. So I really want to notice what is the difference in the quality of the movement from one position to the other. Whichever side feels a little tighter and more restricted, we're going to go to that side for the next part of our work. So I'm on my right side shin box. Right hand is down, elbow spiraled out. You may be on the left side with the left hand down. We're going to move from that back knee, but we're going to continue to move from our breath. Inhale into our crocodile breath. On the exhale, we're lifting up that knee up towards the ceiling, just lifting it softly. Inhale, bringing it back down to the floor. Exhale, we're drawing navel in as we lift and open up that knee, kind of squeezing up with each one. Again, I want to go slow with our breath. As you exhale, you can even put your hand up here as if you're trying to squeeze that knee to touch the hand. And see if you can squeeze a little bit more range of motion on each one. Again, I want to make sure that this is not painful, that we are only moving up to that slight discomfort. This should feel good and juicy, not painful. After 5 up to 10 breaths, we're going to transition to the other side, and we're going to do the same thing. Grounding through that palm, spiraled elbow, opened up chest, lifting up tall. Inhale, filling up that crocodile breath. Exhale, drawing navel to spine as we lift that knee up towards the ceiling, a nice squeeze. Since you started on the side that felt more restricted, more than likely the range of motion on this hip is going to be a little bit greater on this side than it was on the other side. Notice, see if you can feel that. It could be that this side is tighter as well. That's a possibility. If so, it's be an interesting thing to bring up in a session. Noticing the areas in which things move better or worse based on what you feel with that position. This is my less tight side. I have a lot more range of motion of this hip compared to the other side. After 5 to 10 reps, we're going to slowly transition across. And I want to do the same thing for about 3 to 5 reps. Generally, when you do this one time, it feels tight, it opens up. Once you go through both sides and come back and do it again, you'll see that you have another layer of mobility available. So grounding palm, spiraling that elbow out, open chest. Inhale into that crocodile breath. Exhale, squeeze that knee open. Inhale into the crocodile as you let the knee back down. And notice if this has increased that range of motion compared to just a minute ago. This is still a lot tighter on this hip, but I got another inch or so of range. And we'll go ahead and transition across and do the same thing on the other side again. Ground the palm, spiral the elbow. And I'd say as far as range of motion goes, I have a little bit more balance on the second, between the two sides on the second round than I did on the first round. So again, 3 to 5 reps, and we're going to go back across again. So grounded palm, spiraled elbow out. I'm on the more tight side of my shin box. Coming back into our crocodile breath. Inhale into the belly, exhale, drawing navel into spine. And now as we exhale, we're going to scoop that our back tailbone forward, reaching that hip forward, allowing that hip to roll over the top and scooping into it as we exhale. Inhale, allow the hip to soften back down as we fill up our crocodile breath. Exhale, reach that hip bone forward. We're seeing how far can you reach your hip bone, that bony point on your hip, forward as we scoop and as we exhale. Notice the inside of the knee kind of works as a pivot point. You can even kind of actively try to push through that knee in order to scoop that hip forward. Inhale, fill up that crocodile breath. Feel that expansion in 360 degrees of a balloon. Exhale, navel comes into spine as you scoop. Can you feel that light stretch through the front of the hip? Can you squeeze a little bit more on each one? After 5 to 10 reps, We're going to slowly transition across to the other side, and we're going to do the same thing. Grounding through the palm, spiraling the elbow out, nice open chest. Breathing in, filling up our crocodile breath. Exhale, navel to spine. On the next one, as you exhale, we're rolling that hip over the top, reaching it forward to see if we can feel that stretch through the front of the hip, from that hip bone. Draw the navel in on your exhale. Continue to maintain downward pressure through the palms. Stay grounded and lifted through your sternum as you scoop that pelvis and you feel that stretch through the front of the hip. Again, inhale into that balloon breath. Exhale, navel to spine. Can you feel that pivot point off the inside of the knee? Can you reach into it to squeeze a little bit more through that tailbone? Can you get a little bit more range on each one? Full inhale, full exhale. Notice how as you exhale, drawing your navel into your spine, does that add a little bit more stretch to the front of the hip? After 5 to 10 reps, we're going to slowly transition back across to the other side. And we're going to do the same thing again. Grounding the palm, spiraling the elbow out. Inhale in, exhale, scooping the pelvis, tailbone forward, feeling into that stretch of the front of the hip. Since this is the second time around on this side, does it feel a little bit more mobile? Do you have a little bit more range of motion to it? And now we're going to add to it. As you inhale, filling up the crocodile breath, exhale, navel to spine, scoop the pelvis. We're going to reach and rotate. This is where I want to imagine I got a piece of bread and I want to share that bread with somebody off in the corner. Inhale, bringing it all the way back. Fill up that crocodile breath. Exhale, drawing navel to spine. Roll that hip over first. We're still scooping the tailbone, drawing the navel in, and then adding our reach and rotation. I want to continue to push through that knee into the floor. How far much can you push into that knee? How far can you get your fingertips to rotate away from that knee? I want to avoid reaching from the shoulders and moving the shoulders forward. We're spiraling over this shoulder. I'm seeing how far can I reach my fingers without bending at the waist, without moving forward at the shoulders. After 5 to 10 reps, we're going to bring it across to the other side, doing the same thing. Again, grounding through the palm, spiral that elbow out, open up that chest, inhale into the crocodile breath, exhale, drawing navel to spine, rotate that pelvis, get that scoop. On the next one, as you inhale, exhale, we're going to add our rotation. Spiraling over the top of the hand, seeing how far can you reach your fingertips away. Inhale, bringing it back to center, filling up the crocodile breath. Exhale, navel to spine, pushing through the inside of that knee, scooping the pelvis, and seeing how far can you get your fingertips to reach away from that knee. With each one, we're seeing if we can squeeze a little bit further. And again, I want to watch out for moving the shoulders forward. I want to keep the shoulders spiraling over this outside hand that's grounded to the floor, and seeing how far can you reach and extend through the fingers. Can you feel this stretch through the spine? Can you get some stretch into your lower back and even up into the back of your shoulders as you reach those fingers forward? And then we're going to bring it back across to the other side. Coming back to a nice grounded palm, spiraled elbow, open chest. We're going to continue to work. Inhale, crocodile breath, exhale, scoop. But now we're going to get into our folds. But I want to have this back hip scooping actively as we start to reach both hands into our fold. So, inhale into that crocodile breath. Exhale, drawing navel into spine and rolling that top hip over the top, scooping the pelvis. And from here, we're going to reach both hands through the arrow of our knee. So I got that back hip rolling over the top, nice scoop. And I'm seeing how far can I reach my hands without going to pain or discomfort on the exhale. Inhale, I'm going to bring it all the way up, and we're going to shin box all the way across to the other side and do the same thing. Inhale, filling up that crocodile breath. Exhale, roll the opposite hip, scoop the pelvis, and reach both hands through the arrow of the knee. Inhale, bringing it up and all the way across. We're going to go slow on this, going back and forth. Each one, as you get to your shin box, inhale, inflating the crocodile breath. Exhale, scoop that tip back tailbone forward before you fold. Notice that by scooping that tailbone, you get a little bit more of a pre-stretch in that back hip. As we forward fold, I want to continue to feel the tension of that without it becoming painful or massive. As we're folding forward, can you then also feel the stretch in the glute on the hip, on the front hip? Can we get two simultaneous stretches, one through the front of this back hip and the other on the back of the front hip as we go side to side? There's a lot going on with this. We're trying to coordinate our breath with this back scoop and our fold. As we're trying to coordinate all of that together, I also want to pay attention to how does it feel on the right side compared to how it feels on the left side. Is one side tighter and more restricted? And if so, where? Do you feel it more in the back hip? Do you feel it more in the glute? Or do you feel it in your low back or even up into your shoulders? And with each one, we're seeing if we can reach our hands and reach our sternum a little bit deeper through the arrow of that knee. Once we get about 5 to 10 nice slow reps side to side, and we're starting to get a little bit more information on how it feels different one side compared to the other, we can start to play with opening up our shin box, making our knees, getting our back knee, opening it up a little bit wider. As we're opening up that back knee, it's going to be a lot harder to scoop the pelvis, but I want to continue to actively roll that hip, drawing that navel in to get that little bit of a stretch through the back hip. As we fold, I'm going to be less concerned about following the arrow of the knee and just simply exploring, seeing how far can I reach both fingers, both hands as I fold, bring it all the way back up, and doing the same thing on the other side. As I get into that shin box, opening up that back knee a little bit more. I'm still rolling it over the top. It's going to feel a little different, so I want to be soft with it. And then reaching with both hands. Drawing navel into spine as you exhale. Inhale, continuing to breathe into that crocodile breath. With each one, we can continue to open up that back hip a little bit more as long as it doesn't get painful. The slower we go on these, the better. Part of the reason I want to go extraordinarily slow is it allows me to feel what's taking place within my body. When we move fast, we move too quickly for our sensory neurology to be able to perceive how it feels different on one side compared to the other. The slower we go, the more we're able to be present and aware and notice, how does the right side feel compared to the left side? We're continuing to open up that back knee until we get into what we would consider more of a yoga class pigeon pose. Can you reach all the way back, continuing to scoop into that back hip and reach through the hands. It does not need to look the way it looks for me. I want you to explore what it feels like for you. The look of this mobility drill is less about how far you go, it's less about what it looks like, and it's more about what you discover along the way. How does it feel different on one side compared to the other? Where do you move well compared to where do you not move well? Again, really helpful information when we have a consultation. We're going to come back up to our starting point in the shin box, continuing to stay on the side that feels a little bit tighter and more restricted. Now we're going to bring our outside arm up off the floor, if you can. From this position, since my arm is off the floor, I'm kind of opening up this outside of my body, and I want to intentionally fill up my crocodile breath just into this side. So I'm on my right side shin box, my right hand is up in the air. We're going to take the opposite hand and we're going to place it around that side body where we would put our C-shaped hands and just have a soft hand there in order to feel where we want to bring our breath in. I want you to inhale into where that hand is. Exhale, drawing navel into spine and scooping that back tailbone forward. Inhale, allow the hips to soften. See if you can fill that side body space up by having it expand outward. Exhale, we're drawing navel into spine, scooping the tailbone. Notice as you exhale, you're getting a little tall. As you inhale, you're kind of softening and your spine is rounding and you're getting a little short. But you're inhaling, and so you're filling up wide. So on the inhale, we're filling up wide, getting short. On the exhale, we're drawing in, exhale, and our spine's getting tall. Now I want to add to this. As you exhale, drawing navel into spine, lift the elbow. See how high can you reach your elbow up towards the ceiling? Pressing down into the floor through the hip at the same time. Again, we still are scooping that back hip at while we're doing this. Inhale, allow it to soften. Feel the whole spine shrink, the hip drops back down, fill up that belly out to that side where that hand is. And then exhale, get nice and long, reaching down through the hip, up through the elbow, scooping that back hip forward. Can you feel a stretch in both directions? On the inhale, can you feel a stretch, stretching through the abdominals out to the side where your hand is? On your exhale, as you're drawing navel to spine, can you feel a stretch in that same place, but it's a stretch as it gets long versus as it gets wide with that inhale? And we'll switch over and do the same thing on the other side. So our elbow comes up off the floor, opposite hand, finding that side body space. And we're starting out by just breathing and seeing if we can fill up that side body where our hand is, feeling it breathe out to that side. Exhale, drawing navel to spine, scooping the tailbone forward, getting a light stretch through the front of the hip. Inhale, let the hips soften. Feel that expansion of breath out to the side. Exhale, drawing navel in as we scoop. as you start to feel that breath. As you exhale, start to lift, reaching up to the ceiling with that elbow, down through that hip, continuing to scoop the back hip forward. Drawing navel into spine. Inhale, the spine softens. Body shrinks, but we fill up wide on our exhale. Navel comes to spine. We get long. Again, see if you can feel that simultaneous, that stretch in both directions. As we inhale, can you fill up and feel that stretch through the side body, stretching outward through that inhale breath? On the exhale, drawing navel in, can you feel that stretch of that side body from getting long? Then we'll bring our arm down, and we're going to roll all the way onto our back. And we're going to bring the feet off the floor. I want to have the knees or the hips a little bit less than 90 degrees. So kind of pull the knees into the chest. If you need to hold on to the knees or the legs, that's okay to start with. We're going to let the knees, open the knees up wide, keeping our feet touching together. I want to feel the ball of the foot and the heel touching together with the knees out wide. This is kind of our frog position. From this position, put your hands on your knees and extend you're going to press away through the elbows. At the same time, you are actively pulling the knees into your hands. See if you can keep your shoulders and your head softly on the ground. I don't want to feel the shoulders rounding up or the head coming up. If you need to on this, it's okay to use a chair or a couch or a bolster to rest your heels on, or to put your feet on a wall if it's difficult to hold the legs up on your own here. So we are actively pulling the knees into the hands, actively pushing the hands into the knees. I want the elbows extended. Feel how that push and that pull creates pressure into your core. And we're going to come back into our crocodile breath from this. Maintain pressure, actively pushing and pulling. Inhale, fill up that crocodile breath. Exhale, draw the navel into the spine. As you breathe, don't lose that pressure. See how much pressure can you pull in through the knees as you're pushing through the hands, and then how much can you fill up that abdominal wall, pushing out in all directions on the inhale, full exhale, drawing navel into the spine. As you're doing this breath, start to allow the energy of that breath to move down your spine into the pelvic floor, down into the bowl of the pelvis. We're still pressing through the palms, pulling through the knees, breathing out, feeling that expansion, but also allow that breath to move down into the pelvic bowl. And see if you can feel that kind of a little bit of stretch of that inhale breath, moving down. As you exhale, draw the navel into the spine. Full exhale. We'll go ahead and relax the legs, bring them down to the floor softly. We're going to do one more thing. We're going to very slowly get up. Let me get up a different way. Slowly getting up, we're going to move to the side of our body, slowly coming up to a seated position. First thing I want to make sure is that you're not dizzy, feeling lightheaded. If you are, I want you to stay on the floor. If you're feeling Pretty good. Coming up, we're going to see if we can come all the way up into a standing position. Again, if you're feeling light or dizzy, I'd rather you stay seated. From our standing position, we're going to come back to our crocodile breath, making two big C shape with our hands, pressing into the abdominal wall. We're just going to get a nice simple 3 breaths just to kind of re-cue that crocodile breath. Fill up that expansion in all directions on the inhale. Exhale, drawing navel into spine. If that's feeling pretty good, I want to get, we're going to do a little bit of balance work, doing our standing clock. So standing clock, I want to spread the toes out as wide as possible. Really the toes and the knuckles of the feet. I want to maintain a tripod stance here. So I don't want the foot to wobble around where your big toe's coming up or your pinky toe's coming up. I want good grounding through the ball of the pinky toe, ball of the big toe, and the heel. We're going to come into a single leg stance and make sure that you have good stability here. If you find that your foot is wobbling around a whole lot, then we can grab a staff or you can use a chair to give yourself a little bit of extra stability in order to maintain that solid foot. If you don't need the staff, then you can set it off to the side. From here, we're going to imagine that we're standing on the face of a clock. And we're going to slowly reach to each number of the clock. As we reach, we're seeing how far can you reach and then get all the way back up to tall before you go to the next number. I want to make sure that however far we reach, we're not losing our foot, that I don't want that foot wobbling around. I need to be able to reach out and get all the way back up without losing that tripod. And with each one, we're seeing how far can we push out the edge of that clock. Imagine that clock is a circle. How big can you make that circle without losing your tripod foot? As we move into the back spaces of the clock, allow that hip to open up a little bit. If you have good stability, allow that knee to softly bend. And again, I'm seeing how far can I push out that circle with the toes. I want to really kind of reach and extend the toes into each number on that clock that I can get to. Notice the numbers of the clock that you feel less stable on, that feel harder to get to. Those are important. I want to continue to work with the crocodile breath. Inhale as you come to center. Exhale as you reach. After a minute on one side, we're going to switch to the other foot. Spreading those toes, grounding the foot, coming into a single leg stance, making sure that we are not wobbly on that foot. Can you maintain that tripod? And then from here, we're going to softly explore the numbers of the clock. I always want to start slow and small and work bigger as we go. The biggest thing here is maintaining the stability of that tripod foot. If you are reaching out and you lose your foot and your other foot comes down or you have this big wobble, it means you're reaching too far. I'm less concerned about how far you go and I'm more concerned about doing it well. I want good stability. We're training how well can I maintain grounding through my foot as I reach, and how then, after I got good grounded foot, how big can I start to make that circle? My right leg is significantly less stable compared to my left leg. This is my surgery leg, and it is very unhappy with basketball season starting right now, which is part of the reason I need to work on these kind of drills more. Because if I have this kind of instability, that's not good for my knee or my foot or my hip. So I have to work a little bit more in order to keep the function in this leg as much as possible. And again, we're seeing how big can we make that circle. Exhale as you reach. Inhale, filling up that crocodile space as you come back to center. As you're reaching to these back spaces, we're letting that hip open up, making sure that we're not moving into pain. Once we got a minute on both sides, set both feet back down. We're going to come back to our crocodile breath and get about 5 or 6 more and kind of checking in with the body. So getting a nice inhale, filling up that crocodile, expanding out in all directions. Exhale, drawing navel into spine. After a couple of breaths, go ahead and allow your arms to relax to the side. Continue to breathe into that crocodile, but now also allow that breath to move up into the chest. See if you can fill up into the chest, upper back, up into the neck. Kind of breathing in and noticing any tension, any stress. On the exhale, you're going to let that tension and that stress go. Even shake out the arms, shake out the shoulders. Feel that tension on that exhale, kind of flush down through the legs into the floor. And after about 5 or 6 nice soothing breaths, kind of get a last little check-in with the body.